So another April 15th is upon us. And were you hopeful that a benevolent master would give you permission to keep more of what you produced this time around? Were you optimistic that the brave act of occasionally hiding in a booth and choosing which of two power-happy crooks you wanted robbing you was going to really change anything? Is that all you've done to try to achieve a life in which you don't have to continually pay tribute to sadistic psychopaths? The extortion is still here, and it's still funding mass murder around the world. The ruling class still views you as livestock, forever finding new ways to monitor, control, and rob you. And now the discussion even includes the idea that due process doesn't really matter if those in power say that someone is really, really bad. And the discussion now includes the idea that maybe even American citizens can be shipped off to foreign slave camps if they don't properly bow to the masters. And now those who subjugate you are proudly bragging about how they are forcibly interfering with your ability to trade with 95% of the world's population, and how much those in power will rob you blind if you try. And in a matter of weeks, the surveillance state will also be taking another bold step forward. But today is April 15th, so if you haven't already, be sure to do whatever you can to help the thieves to rob you. Be sure to assist the parasites in draining your lifeblood. Be sure to make sure you're paying your fair share of the costs of warmongering and constant corruption and authoritarian thuggery. But never fear, because in a couple years, those who rule you will let you use your tiny little vote to desperately try to influence which sociopath will rob you next, from among the choices the ruling class gives you, of course. After all, what else is an upstanding, law-abiding taxpayer to do? Surely you don't think it's up to you, the subject, to decide what the master may do to you. So today, take pride in your obedience, in how joyfully you surrender the fruits of your labor to the worst people in the world to use for all manner of atrocities and injustices. And on this April 15th, 2025, I will leave you with a few words from Frederick Douglass, a man who grew up being openly treated as the property of another. Quote, "A man who will not fight for himself when he has the means of doing so is not worth being fought for by others. For a man who does not value freedom for himself will never value it for others, or put himself to any inconvenience to gain it for others. It is not within the power of unaided human nature to persevere in pitying a people who are insensible to their own wrongs and indifferent to the attainment of their own rights." The poet was as true to common sense as to poetry when he said, "Who would be free themselves must strike the blow." If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one. And it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Happy April 15th.